Well, this is shaping up to be a super week. It is, of course, Super Bowl Sunday. Tuesday is Super Tuesday. Wednesday, we're having soup to nuts here. We have a baptism this morning, and the list goes on and on. And with each of these events, we have these ideas of what the potential outcome is going to be. Debbie is wearing her Giants jersey, perhaps hoping that that team will win. But if anybody has happened to turn on the TV in the last couple of days, or last couple of weeks, I should say, there certainly has been a bit of Super Bowl hype out there. And we all know that the New England Patriots are the best team in football ever. They have not lost a game, and then they are playing against some other team that seemingly has no chance at all. That would be our New York Giants. Regardless of what the pregame hype says, these boxes, these ideas that we have about what is supposed to happen, in the game, something else will happen. And we have to be open to see what those things are. Super Tuesday is also a day that comes with several preconceived notions. Little nuggets, little ideas. We think we know who these four main candidates are. There is, of course, the visionary. There is also the person who can get things done and affect change. There is a true conservative and a real conservative. Each of these seem to have different connotations and different ideas. And we hold these little ideas, these nuggets of understanding, as a way to sort of manage all the information that comes toward us. We build these little boxes of information that help us understand what these things are, as a way to move forward and capture in just a few words what's going on, which is really much more complex. And the same is true, I believe, when we think about our faith and our God and our religion. We make these little packages, these little boxes that help us understand this complex God who continually reveals God's self to us. It is challenging when we have to face these new ideas, and sometimes the boxes help us. They give us a confined space in which to work and to understand and to explain God. Now, I bring this up because it seems as though this is what happened on that mountaintop that we heard about in the Transfiguration story today. Peter, James, and John go up the mountain with their friend Jesus, who they know. The next thing you know, he becomes dazzling white. Moses and Elijah appear on his sides, and Peter wants to explain it, wants to understand it, wants to put it in a box. He says, let's build 3 dwellings. We'll build them here, we'll keep it here, we'll understand it. We'll keep it confined in a way that makes sense to us. But God is bigger than that. God is more difficult to understand or more broad to understand, not necessarily more difficult. The boxes that we put around our understanding of religion are what help us understand it. These are our dwellings, the places where we live and work and operate our faith. And it's sometimes a good thing because of the structure that it provides, but it can also become a barrier. The walls of our understanding are sometimes walls that are impenetrable from either side. New ideas can't come in, and we can't get out of the ideas that we are stuck in. Sometimes these boxes are not helpful. But we want to understand God. We have the explanations that make sense to us, and we hold on to them. Every faith and every religion does this. And sometimes what's the most challenging are the ones where the boxes of understanding are the most firm, where nothing can get in or out. This is the way to understand it. This is the only way to do and understand God. and it becomes an almost fundamental issue, and nothing can change. But as we saw from this story on the mountaintop, as we live in our lives, we need to open up our understanding of God. We need to break out of these boxes and let new ideas in. We do this as we practice our religion. What we do in this Episcopal church is structured. The worship service, the building, all of these are things that give us comfort. But if we use those walls as barriers that prevent God from getting in other ways, we are preventing ourselves from knowing God as fully as we might. Yes, the words in the prayer book are beautiful, wonderful prayers that we can use. But there are so many other ways to pray. There are so many other ways to walk in the light of God. Just because it's in that book doesn't mean it's the only way. It is a box that helps us understand, but it is a barrier that we need to sometimes break beyond. And breaking through or beyond any barrier is frightening. What's on the other side is dangerous, or seemingly dangerous. It is dangerous because we don't know what's there. And God is so big and so expansive and so wonderful. We don't know what's on the other side, and our fear of the unknown traps us in this box, traps us in our understanding. But think about it. What we do know about God is wonderful. What we do know about God is love and light. We can only assume that what's on the other side of the wall, what's outside of that box, is not dangerous, but is filled with more of this light. Today, as another example of our understanding, we are having a baptism. Lenora John is going to baptize here. And whenever somebody comes into my office to talk about baptism, I usually ask the same first question. And people get a little defensive. They think it's a quiz. I say, well, what do you think baptism is? As though there was a right answer. What's wonderful is each time that I ask this question, I get a different response. And each time I hear this, my understanding of baptism grows. Like all of our sacraments, these are these gifts of God, these outward and visible signs of an inward grace. Our Eucharistic meal that we share is one of these. The baptism is another. These are ways that we can let God in as we try to be expansive in how we understand it. Now, going back to the story on the mountaintop, there is fear as those boxes are broken down. Peter doesn't get to build his dwellings, but the disciples are cowering on the ground in fear. Something unknown is happening. And then, as the passage says, they fell to the ground, they were overcome by fear, but Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Get up and do not be afraid." Jesus touched them. Jesus touches each of our lives, and that is where we can walk out of the fear and into the light. The fear is gone when we are touched by Jesus. It's then we can get up and move on after we are touched by God, touched in this place or somewhere else, allowing us to move into the world and make a difference. It's then we can step out of the boxes that we have made for ourselves. Outside these walls, outside the walls of these boxes, we can grow. Outside of these walls, it's there that we meet the new face of God. It's there that we stretch ourselves beyond what we thought possible. Outside of these boxes that we've created, we can embrace the dangers of God's all-powerful love.